Alright, the video is starting. Hello everyone, happy Thursday. It is been a bit of a long week. I can't believe we're at Thursday already. So I have some really exciting training today that I'm hoping that you're really going to like. And I've actually had to implement this myself recently. So today we're going to be going over 5 coping strategies on how to prevent binge eating because somebody or something at work has pissed you off. I know, right? I'm usually all about the love and light and everything, but you know what? Guess what? I am human. Vicious rumor, I know, but apparently I am human and I do have these emotions and I can get triggered and ticked off. And a lot of times in the past, what I would do is I would use food to suppress those emotions because good girls aren't allowed to get angry. And so, like I said, today we're going to go over, we're going to talk about bullying in the workplace, women in leadership, the 5 A's of dealing with angry feelings that can trigger binge eating, and love and light the healthier way. If you are watching live, type in #live. If you're watching the replay, type in #replay. And if you want more training like this, type in 5 A's just to let me know that you enjoyed the training and that you would like to see more of this kind of stuff. And please feel free to share this with anybody that you feel might actually benefit from this kind of training. So I'm going to start off by telling a story about bullying in the workplace that I personally experienced and how it ties in with food and what effect it had on me. So, and I don't always like to do this, but so here's the situation. So there was a coworker of mine that had actually, it was shortly after doing performance reviews. And at the time I was the supervisor and I needed to do performance reviews for the team. And I was very aware of how I had to word things and making sure that I'm giving, you know, good feedback as well as critical feedback as well, so people can improve, which isn't always an easy task, and the way it's delivered actually matters so that it's actually received. Now, I was fairly young and still new to leadership back then, and so I was very honest and forthright, but I sandwiched it between positives as well. So I did those kind of, you know, I would tell them what they did right, and then I would also say, hey, but here's what you could improve upon a little bit, and then also finished it off with what else they could do right. Now, this coworker did not appreciate the feedback, did not receive it very well, despite my best efforts of delivering it in a positive manner. And I'm not sure exactly how long it took, but afterwards they came into my office and they knew that I am an animal lover. I love cats. And they ended up showing me a video of a cat getting its head caught in the sunroof, and it, you know, decapitated the cat, or that's what it looked like. And I got very upset by that, and I felt like that was a deliberate way to hurt me. And but also, being the supervisor, I had to stay calm, not react to that. But I had all of these feelings, and I felt like that was a deliberate attack, especially since when I looked up from my office window, I could see the rest of the team out there, that they were all snickering and they were all waiting to see what kind of reaction that I would have. So as a leader, of course, I did not react. I did get upset. I told him that wasn't appropriate. I felt that he was being hurtful. So I communicated my feelings in a positive way, but because I couldn't fully express those feelings, what ends up happening is you have to stuff those down, and then I would end up eating food to kind of control those emotions, to kind of self-soothe. And being aware of that, and understanding how it impacted me, it was particularly challenging, especially since, first of all, that was actually very cruel of that person to do, but I couldn't acknowledge my feelings around those kind of things. And it made me really angry, and it really hurt. And it also reminded me of childhood trauma kind of stuff, where people would go out of their way to be deliberately cruel to me because they did not like honest feedback. And I get it, nobody really likes honest feedback, but I delivered it in a way that was professional and empathetic, and also in a way that helped build them up, not tear them down. So yet, in spite of the way that I tried to deliver it, this was the reaction from it. And when I confronted it, there were also things of, hey, you're just overreacting. Can't you take a joke? Everybody else thought it was funny. Why can't you find it funny? And so gaslighting happened, telling me my feelings were not valid, that what was going on was not accurate. Again, triggers from past, and being in those kind of environments. So while we cannot control what other people choose to do or not do to us, how it affects me, how it affects you, is what we do have control over. And a lot of times this leads me into women in leadership, because I think a lot of women struggle with this, that they're not allowed to express angry feelings, yet guys are allowed to. They have to be calm, because if you show any kind of emotions, well, then you're being hysterical, right? You're being overly emotional, you cannot control your feelings, all of those kind of things. So it kind of is a catch-22, and it leaves us in a situation where we can't express how we feel, and we also are, squishing those feelings down. So you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't, because if you don't speak up, well, then you're being too timid. And if you do speak up, then you're being too aggressive. So these are the things that I found for myself were challenges that I had to deal with. And it got really frustrating too, because while I would see what was going on, I didn't know how to cope with the emotions, and the only thing I had control over, the only thing that was acceptable, was food. So I see a lot of women too in leadership positions that also start gaining weight from the stress of being in a leadership position. And it's not just the stress of being in a leadership position, it's the stress of not being supported, and not being allowed to have our emotions as well. I'm not saying that men don't go through this as well, but I am finding that a lot of women do go through these kind of emotions where they feel like they can't speak up, and if they do speak up, then they're viewed as emotional or not logical and stuff like that. And what I find is understanding and being empathetic is important, but we also have to do that with ourselves. That's what I found for myself, is turning that empathy on myself. And this leads me to the 5 A's of dealing with the angry feelings. So when this happened the other day, I found I was irritated, I was frustrated, and here are the 5 A's that I use to help mitigate those emotions and deal with them in a healthier, more productive way for myself. So number 1, I had to recognize, I had to become aware. So aware is the first one. When we're aware of the trigger for wanting a snack, right? So I found myself irritated, I was angry about something that had happened, and then I found myself a few minutes later going, oh, you know what, I'm going to have a snack. And it popped into my head, hey, are you really hungry, or is this something that is a way to deal with the emotions, right? And I had to become aware that, hey, wait a second, this comes into the second A. I had to analyze, am I actually hungry, or is this a reaction, or is this a habit? What is going on here? What's happening? Why is it that I'm craving this particular food? And when I did that, I could see, well, you know, it's only been about half hour, 45 minutes since I actually last ate, so it's not really a hunger thing. So what is going on here? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm angry. Okay, why am I angry? Well, I didn't get a good enough sleep the night before, so that's making me a little bit more sensitive than I normally would be. So because of that, I need to deal with the emotional side of that. So I have to acknowledge. And I still wanted that snack that I wanted, and so I had to acknowledge that I wanted that, which is the third one. So acknowledging that I want it. And the fourth A is coming to an agreement. So instead of just reacting to wanting that snack, acknowledging that I want it, acknowledging that I can have it. However, let's get into some negotiating skills here. So it's like negotiating with your inner child. Going, I understand that you're upset, and yes, what that person did really ticked you off, and acknowledging how I'm feeling. And then coming to an agreement, can I add some space in between the reaction? At least doing that piece. Can I do a couple of other things? So some of the strategies that I employed, I did a couple of menial tasks. I threw in some laundry. If I was in an office, what I would have done was gone to another coworker's desk of like, hey, I've been meaning to talk to so-and-so. I'm just going to go for a walk across the building and finally do something that I have been meaning to do but didn't get around to. So this has a twofold win to it, is that I get something meaningful done, and it also distracts me for a time. Now, in the agreement is, if after I have done this activity, then if I still want that snack, I can have that snack. So it's because there's nothing worse than a bait and switch. So we can't do that to ourselves. Nobody likes that in sales. Nobody likes that in negotiation. Nobody likes that at all. So, and if you do that to a kid, they're going to have a temper tantrum, and then you're going to have a backlash, right? So don't do that. So if after, so I did those activities, I also went for a walk, and now this turned this around from being something that is a reaction, a habit, and a response to an emotional stimulus. This now becomes an award for positive reinforcing behavior. So that is the fifth A, is to award yourself. So if after you've tried these strategies and you still want that snack, have that snack, okay? So, and know that you are having it and you're using it as a tool to self-soothe. Being aware of those kind of things helps reduce the number of times that you actually use that as part of a coping strategy. This is what I have found in my experience, and so this brings me to the last one, which is love and light in a healthy way. So in dealing with angry feelings, so I have been really, really good at being able to be understanding and sympathetic to other people's angry feelings, and I don't react, I'm calm, and I can handle that no problem. I have struggled with dealing with my own angry feelings. So what I need to remember, and how I do this with love and light, is love is the only thing that's real. Fear is an illusion. And everything is either an expression of or a cry for love, okay? So based on that, if I look at myself and I find myself that I am in an angry state, I am getting irritated and miserable and just frustrated with things that maybe normally won't frustrate me. And I'm not in a place where I can be all, love and light. I need to be able to give myself and understand that if I'm in that state, then that is my signal that it is a cry for love. And I need to be kind with myself, and I need to be compassionate with myself, and I need to be caring. So when I look at that, instead of beating myself up for getting frustrated with what's going on, I can now look at this and say, okay, what is it that I need to be able to be kind to myself? What do I need? Do I need to ask for help? Do I need to give myself a time out? Do I need a little bit of quiet time? Do I need to just vent to somebody about the frustrations I'm dealing with? Whatever it is, I need to be kind to myself. And so if that means today I'm maybe skipping my workout, or maybe I'm going to do a modified workout that is more gentle, that is kinder to me. And it's acknowledging my feelings, and it's acknowledging what I actually need in that moment. And doing that is a way of reparenting for the times that maybe you weren't acknowledged, that you had to find a way to cope with your feelings that were not appropriate. So this, for me, has been a strategy that has worked and has been really, really helpful. So yeah, just remember that if you're in the state where you are finding yourself frustrated, you are finding yourself irritable and unreasonable and just need to take that time out, give yourself that time. Find something to burn some of that energy, especially if you're feeling angry and frustrated. So that's why doing a task actually helps. So maybe that could be something as mundane as, you know, doing the laundry or cleaning the bathroom or cleaning out your utensil drawer or something productive that you could do that will utilize energy, and then, you know, give yourself what it is that you need. So a lot of times when I do those activities, I'll also play like calming music as well. So that helps me stay calm, stay centered, and be very kind and loving to myself. So that's the training for today. I hope you guys liked it. Again, if you were watching live, type in #live. If you were watching the replay, type in #replay. And if you want more trainings like this, type 5A's and I will create more trainings. And if you have any questions, ask them below, and feel free to share this with somebody if you find that it might be helpful for them. Maybe they don't struggle with food, but maybe these strategies will still help them with dealing with their emotions. So with that, guys, I hope you have an amazing night, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.